And as you can see, we've got Windows 8. This is actually a virtual machine, but what I'm trying to show you is this right here. This is our Virtualbox Hypervisor. It's a type 2 hypervisor, but we'll get into what that means. That essentially is what we're going to see on workstations more commonly. And if we were to make a new VM, and we'll just pretend this is going to be a Windows 7 virtual machine. I apologize for the size of the font, but I'm just typing in Windows 7 for the name. And we go to next. We can't do that because there's already one there. But if we do Windows 7.0 or something, so we can specify how much of this system's memory can go to this virtual machine. As we next through, we can specify the size of the virtual hard disk. So how much storage space we're going to cut off from the host machine and give to this virtual machine. And we can create that hard disk. We can specify things like RAM, what devices are plugged in. Almost anything you can specify on a normal PC, you can specify on a virtual machine. You can provide it with access to USB, to access to different networking hardware. It works the same way. It's just that all the hardware is virtualized. It's running in software. So there we go. We've made this Windows 7 VM. And if we actually just wanted to install Windows 7, we would right-click it in VirtualBox anyway, go to Settings, and then wait for it to load. And if we go to Storage, we've got an empty CD-ROM drive here. And what we can do is actually just choose a virtual optical disk. And if we had the ISO, which I don't have it plugged in right now, but if we had the Windows 7 ISO, we would just select that file and it would mount it as if it's a CD-ROM. And when we boot Windows 7, this Windows 7 VM, it will load the installation. We install it like a normal operating system. So this is an example of workstation virtualization. And we have to give it those resources. As you saw, every time you make a virtual machine, you have to tell it how much CPU you want to set aside for the virtual machine, how much memory you want to set aside for it, and so forth. VMware Player works in a very similar way, and we've got that installed on the system too. The only reason I'm not using it is that VirtualBox is a little easier to run multiple virtual machines simultaneously on. So, but VMware Player, very similar concepts, very similar setups. So just remember, we've got to give it enough resources to do its job. If we make a virtual machine for some application, we need the resources not just for the operating system that we're going to use in the virtual machine, but also for the application that's running on top of it. So we have to treat it just like a normal physical machine. It has to have the resources to do the job that we want it to do.